Hi, friends. Hey, do you guys like to play board games? You do? Oh, I do too. And last night we were playing this board game and I thought of you. Yeah, I did. Because as we were playing this board game on that nice, long, cool path, and we were giving directions to go forward and backwards, I thought about you and a super cool, fun map tool that we can use that's really similar to a game board. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's a number path. Doesn't that number path kind of look like a game board? I think so. And just like a game board where you have your player that you can move forward and backward on, the same thing happens on a number path. See, when we're counting on, we move forward on the number path. And when we're counting back, we move backwards on the number path. Isn't that super cool? Yeah, I told you it was just kind of like a game board. Well, today, our learning goal says I can tell what happens when you subtract one and when you subtract a number that is one less. And we're going to be using our number path to help us figure out what happens in both of those situations. Are you ready? Oh, I'm super excited. Now, before we begin, we just have to review for a second. How do we know that we're subtracting? What happens to the total amount when you subtract? Can you press pause and tell a buddy and then press play and we'll check ourselves, okay? Okay, did you figure it out? Okay, when we subtract, the total is less than what you started with. So we start out with one amount and then we subtract and then we have less. And that's how you know that we're subtracting. Okay, and since we're subtracting, when we're using our number path, we're going to start with our total and then we're going to move backwards because that will go to a number that is less than what we started with. Okay, so that's what we got to keep in mind today. We're jumping backwards. Okay, let me tell you a story. So I was walking outside and I saw this super cool tree, and there were six apples on the tree. But then I got a little hungry and I ate one. And now there are less apples on the tree. Okay, let's turn this story into a number sentence. All right. First, we want to start out by writing down how many apples were there in total at the beginning of my story. Does anyone remember how many apples there were to start? Yeah, good job. There were six. There were six apples. And I know I was hungry, but how many did I eat? I only ate one. So I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm going to subtract or minus one. Because if there were six altogether, I ate only one part of the six, right? So that's what I'm subtracting is that one part. And so what we're looking for is the other part of six that's left over. Okay, so this is how we use our number path and jumping on our number path to help us figure it out. So we're going to think about first what we know. And we know that we started with six total apples. So on our number path, we're going to go ahead and circle six because that's going to keep us on track of where we're starting. Just like on a game board, when you start at the start, it tells you where to start. We're going to tell ourselves where to start. And we're starting at six, which is the total amount. And then now we want to think about how many we're going to subtract. So I'm going to look back up at my number sentence and I see that we're subtracting one, so we're going to go ahead and hop back one from six on our number path. Ready? Can you count with me while we hop? Here we go. One. Oh, that was pretty fast, right? Yeah, we're only hopping back one because that's all we're subtracting. That's the only part we needed to get rid of. Okay. Every time you hop backwards, it's like saying minus one. So every hop backwards is minus one. And we only had to hop once because we only had to take away one part. Okay, so we're at six, so we hop back one. And what number did we land on, friends? Yeah, we landed on the number five. So that must mean the part that's remaining is five. All right, let me tell that story again and let's check ourselves with our number sentence. Ready? Okay, I walked up to a tree and there were six apples. I was really hungry, so I ate one apple, and then there were some apples left. And in this case, there were five. We figured that out by using our super handy number path. All right, should we try another one? Okay, good listening ears. I was driving down the highway and I saw 10 cars driving too. All of a sudden, one got really zoomy and zoomed away. And then there were less cars on the highway. Okay, here we go. All right, so does anyone remember how many cars were on the highway to begin with? Yes, there were 10. Excellent job. And how many cars zoomed away really fast? Yes, one. So how can we show that in our number sentence? Perfect. We're going to write subtract one. Awesome. So if we had 10 and then one part of that 10 zoomed away, what are we trying to figure out with our equal sign? Yeah, we're trying to figure out what part of 10 is left over, right? Okay, so I want you to go ahead, now that we have built our number sentence, 10 minus 1, I want you to pause and talk with a friend. What are we going to do on our number path now? Where are we going to start and what action are we going to take once we begin to figure out the part that's left over? Press pause, talk with a buddy, and then we'll get back to it. Okay, what did you decide, friend? Okay, remember, we're going to start with what we know. Well, we know that we started with 10 total. And then we're going to hop back how many we're subtracting. So how many are we subtracting? Yep, we're going to just subtract one. So can you count one hop with me? Here we go. One. Well, that was pretty fast. I love hopping back one. Okay, and so what part is left over from that 10? It's exactly where we landed. Yes, a 9. Excellent job, friends. Wow, you were doing such a good job. You know what? You're doing so great. Can you go ahead? I'm going to have you do this next one with me. Can you go grab a dry erase board and a marker or a piece of paper and a pencil, and we're going to do the next problem together. All right, press pause when you get this up. Press play when you're ready. Are you ready, friend? Okay, of course, you're also going to need a number path. That will be helpful too. Okay, so here we go. Now you're going to have really good listening ears to the story. Okay, so I had a jar of pickles at my house, and there were 4 pickles in the jar. My kiddo Miles loves pickles, so of course he ate one. And now there are less pickles in the jar. So I got to figure out how many pickles are in that jar. All right, so here we go. So on your dry erase board, I want you to go ahead and start writing out the number sentence. Now I'm going to tell the story again, just to give you a good reminder. But as I'm telling the story again, I want you to start writing out what you think the number sentence is going to be. Okay, here we go. There were 4 pickles in the jar. My kiddo ate 1 pickle. And now there are less pickles in the jar. Okay, so did you write your number sentence? If you have to pause to finish it, go ahead and then press play. We're going to check ourselves. Okay, so my number sentence looked like this. Since there were 4 pickles in the jar to begin with, that's what I put up there. And then Miles ate 1, so that's subtracting 1. And then now I need to figure out how many are left over. Okay, so if I know that, can anyone tell me where am I going to start on my number path before I start jumping? Ding, 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 perfect. I'm going to start at 4 because that's the total amount I have. And how many jumps do I need to do? We can look back up in our number sentence. How many jumps? Yep, just 1 because that's the only number I'm subtracting. All right, let's go ahead. Let's jump 1 and say 1. 1. Okay, so if we're at 4 and we remove 1, we hop back 1, how many do we have left? 3. Excellent. Can you go ahead and finish your number sentence? Beautiful job, friends. You know, I started to notice something. I don't know if you noticed this. I started to notice as we were subtracting all these different times, something was happening. When we had 6 and we took one away, we ended up with 5. When we had 10 and we subtracted 1, we ended up with 9. And we had 4 and we subtracted 1, we had 3. Do you notice anything about the total when we subtract 1 and then what's left over? That part? Total and the part. What are you noticing about these totals and parts? Are you noticing the same thing I'm noticing? Yeah. It's almost like when you subtract 1, the answer is right before the total we started with. Look it. When you count, you go 5, 6, 9, 10, 3, 4. So we know the rule now that when you subtract 1, the answer is always going to be right before the total. Wow, that's going to be super helpful because look at this. If you know that when you subtract 1, the answer is right before the total we started with, you can apply that to any problem that you see where you subtract 1. And you can get really fast at the answer then. Because 8 minus 1, well, what number comes before 8? Yeah, 7. What about 13 minus 1? Ooh, Miles is 13 now. 13 minus 1, what would that answer be? Well, what number comes before 13? Yeah, 12. Okay, hardest one yet. 20 minus 1. Well, if you can count to 20, you can definitely figure this one out. Yeah, 19. Okay, that's super helpful because remember, our learning goal said we want to know what happens when you subtract 1, and we figured it out. When you subtract 1, the answer is right before the total we started with. Ugh, excellent job, Smarty Pants. Okay, let's go back because there was another part of the learning goal that we were trying to figure out, and that's what happens when you subtract 1 less. So we're going to clear our brains. You can clear your boards, go ahead and erase it. If you have a piece of paper, find a new spot. But can you set your pencil and your marker down for just a second? Because I'm going to show you what happens when you subtract 1 less. Okay? So I had 6 apples on my tree, and I put 5 in a bag to take home. And now there's less apples on the tree. Wow, that was a big difference, right, friends? Okay, so if I was going to put this into a number sentence, I would say I started with 6. That was the total amount of apples. I took 5 and put them in a bag. So, of course, I'm subtracting 5, right? And so the part that I'm looking for now is just what's left over. So if I had 6 and I took 5 of those 6, I need to know how many is left over from 6. What part of 6 is left? Now, you might already know really speedy fast from looking at that picture, but it's really good to practice the strategies on a number path. So let's go ahead and see what it looks like. Okay, so just like with our other math problems, we're going to think about what we know. So what was the total amount we started with? Yes, 6. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to circle that on our number path so we know where to start. And then now remember, every time we jump back, it's like minusing 1. So how many jumps do we have to do? Yeah, we get to jump 5 times this time. Okay, so as I jump back, can you count with me? We got to get to 5. Okay, now we're not getting to the number 5, we're counting 5 hops. Okay, so when you hop back, you're hopping back how many you are subtracting. Okay, so here we go. So count to 5 with me. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we can say stop. Okay, we stopped. Okay, what number did we land on? Yeah, we landed on the number 1. So that must mean the part that's remaining is 1. Isn't that cool how that worked? Yeah, I loved it. Let's try another one, okay? All right, this time you can go ahead and pick up your marker or your pencil because I'm going to have you do it with me. Okay, there's those 10 cars again. I saw 10 cars on the highway. Now, I hope that as good math thinkers, you're already thinking, hey, how could I create a good number sentence with this story? Okay, all right, let me start over. I saw 10 cars on the highway. 9 zoomed away so fast. And now there are less cars on the highway. Oh my goodness, how could we write a number sentence to show that, friends? There were 10 cars on the highway. 9 zoomed away so fast. And now there are less cars on the highway. How would you put that into a number sentence? Can you press pause and write a good number sentence about that story and then press play when you're ready to check yourself? Okay, so I know, and I hope you did too, that I said that there were 10 cars to start with. So that's what I'm going to start my number sentence with. And then 9 zoomed away. So I know of those 10 that we can subtract 9 because that's how many left, right? And now we're looking for the part of 10 that is left over. Because we took 9 away, we want to know how many's left. Okay, so now what do? I got my good number sentence going. Am I done? No way, Jose. I need to go ahead and use my number path to figure out how many are left. So where are we going to start on our number path? Ooh, good old 10, because that is the total amount we had to begin with. And then how many jumps back are we going to do? How many are we subtracting? Yes, we're subtracting 9. So how many hops back are we going to do? We're going to do 9 hops. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to hop. Can you count with me? It's a lot of hops. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Stop. Okay, friends, where did we land? Yeah, we landed at the number 1. So what's our answer? Yes, the number 1. If we have 10 and we take 9 away from that 10, we only have 1 left over. And we can see that because we started with 10, We hopped back to show the change of 9, and then we ended up with just 1 left over. Oh my goodness, you are doing fantastic. Can you go ahead and erase your board and or find a new spot on your piece of paper because we're going to do one more. Oh, back to those pickles. I'm not a fan of pickles, but Miles loves pickles. So we have so many at our house. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the story and I want you to start writing your number sentence right away. Okay? Listen to the story and write your number sentence. Here we go. There were 4 pickles in the jar. Miles got so hungry he ate 3 pickles. And now there are less pickles in the jar. Okay, I'm going to tell the story one more time. There were 4 pickles in the jar. Miles got so hungry he ate 3 pickles. And now there are less pickles in the jar. Okay, if you're still working on your number sentence, press pause. But if you're ready, let's go ahead and check ourselves, okay? All right, so I said that there were 4 total to start with. Miles ate 3. So are we adding or subtracting? Yeah, we're definitely subtracting because they're subtracted right to his belly, right? And then now we got to figure out how many are left over from the 4 that we had to start. Okay, where are we going to begin on our number path, friends? Yep, we're going to begin with what we know, and we know the total was 4. And then how many, since we're subtracting how many, are we going to jump back? Perfect. We're subtracting 3, so that's how many hops we're going to do. Can you count with me as I hop? Thank you. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Stop. Okay, where did we land? Oh, yes, we landed on 1. So what part is left over? Exactly right. So we had 4 minus 3 equals 1. Did you finish your number sentence? Let's go. Good job, buddies. Okay, now you know what I'm thinking is our learning goal said we need to figure out what happens when we subtract 1 less. And look at, do you see any patterns or anything that looks the same? Every time we subtract 1 less from the total, what answer are we getting? Yes, we're getting 1 every single time. See how 5 is just 1 less than 6? 9 is 1 less than 10. 3 is 1 less than 4. And every single time we're getting 1. So we could say when you subtract a number that is 1 less than the total, you get 1. Every single time that will be true. So every time you subtract a number that is 1 less than the total you started with, you're always going to get a 1. And if we know that and can recognize that as we're doing our math, it's going to make our math problems so fast. Like this, I bet you can solve these problems so quick. Okay, 7 is 1 less than 8. So what's our answer going to be? Yeah, 1. 12 is 1 less than 13. So what's our answer going to be? 1. Oh my goodness, I can't even trick you guys. Oh, whoa, biggies. 19 is 1 less than 20. So what's our answer going to be? Yeah, 1. Because we figured out that every time you subtract a number that is 1 less than the total, you're going to get 1. Oh my goodness, this is perfect. This is so great. Our learning goal for today says, I can tell what happens when you subtract 1 and when you subtract a number that is 1 less. That's exactly what we worked on today, and our number path was super helpful in solving these problems. Now, friends, as you're doing your good work, you want to start thinking about the rules that we've made about subtracting 1 and subtracting a number that is 1 less. And that should help you to get speedy fast at doing some good math problems. All right, see you next time.